do our recap from last week too.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Fighter and the Analyst. I'm your host, GK The Fight Analyst, and this here is my man, the Joker himself, Peter Petties. What's up, bro? How's it going?
Sean, living the life.
Hey, that's all we can do. First and foremost, this podcast and all future podcasts are sponsored by Manscaped, the official sponsor of the UFC. Fellas, the ladies don't like a man with a bush down there coming out of your shorts or your junk smelling ripe. So head over to Manscaped for all your grooming needs to keep that junk tamed and smelling great. Use promo code TFTA20 for 20% off and free shipping on your next order. With that said, man, we got some fights this weekend. A lot of up and down with this card. You know, a lot of fights being called off, fighters not being able to make weight. It's just a lot of drama. Before we get into that, we're gonna recap our amazing weekend last weekend. You made some great calls. You know, the one with Alex Caceres over Chase Hooper, where a lot of people were on Hooper, including myself. That was a great call. I mean, that was perfectly it was just perfect. You said exactly what happened. You know, perfect to a T. You know,
Man, I don't know why people, like I said, Bruce Leroy can beat a lot of guys just being that height and his game. I mean, like I said, as long as they're not crowned on the ground, he can hold his own.
That's very, very true. I mean, granted, he did make some mistakes that I saw he was going to, but Hooper did not at all, you know, capitalize off of it. So you can see the levels of this jiu-jitsu, you know, and I think Hooper's just not there yet. I mean, he has a lot of skill. Just hopefully he kind of progresses, you know, instead of staying where we were. But, I mean, then we had fights like Aljamain Sterling absolutely dominated Corey Sandhagen. I mean, that was a thing of beauty. Alex Perez winning with leg kicks. I mean, that was an amazing card, top to bottom. Amanda Nunes, arguably the GOAT. You talk about one of the pound for pound best, not female fighters in general on the planet. That's how great she was. I mean, it was a phenomenal card, top to bottom, and we made a ton of money, and that's what we're here for. But yeah, but before we get into all that, you know, break down the fights and cash in some bets, how is training going down here? What's new? You know, any insight? What's going on?
Training's been good, honestly. You know, going through the week, it's one of those times where I wake up and I'm like, shit, it's Friday already. That's how training is, you know. Getting in strength and conditioning early in the morning, closer to 7 before starting the day, to sparring with just guys, you know, in the UFC or high level guys who are making a look that jump. It's been good. I mean, it's a welcome change. It's good to get back to get a relatively workout schedule. At the same time, it's a welcome change. From the first week, I was hurting. This week, I feel a little bit better. So now I'm just trying to get my gas under me. I actually got offered a fight this last week for LFA in July, and I had to turn it down. I was like, man, I mean, I don't get me wrong.
I know. It just sucks because I really want to see you back then.
Yeah, the inner pride in me wanted it. I mean, it was supposedly they're doing back-to-back cards, so it was like July 28th. You know, I'm counting the weeks. I'm like, well, but I'm still dropping weight. I gotta still get my time in back. So I'm hoping. I mean, it's encouraging to know that option was there. So right now, I'm just trying to get my weight back to a normal where I'm still at the 45, 55 cusp, because right now I'm looking like a 7-year. And, you know, get my timing back. So hopefully my goal is, you know, best case scenario, maybe September, October, and, you know, get into a swing of things. Depending on how gyms are up in Maryland, I know they're starting to open, but there's no directive on when they're going to open in my particular county where Lloyd's is at. So, I mean, right now I'm probably going to stay through July is what I'm looking at too, just to keep the momentum. I don't want to go back and then be sitting on my ass just running again. So we'll see, man. I'm just taking it day by day at this time.
But man, that sounds great. So that at least you know you got fights offered to you. You know the opportunity is going to come to you when you're ready to go, which is phenomenal. That's great to hear. That means you're going to be getting back in there much sooner than we thought. That's great. Paycheck in your pocket, and the next step until you get. I mean, like LFA would be huge to get over
Yeah,
there.
I mean, don't get me
That's
wrong. I
huge.
was like in my head, I was like, no, now this you're retired. You're coming off the couch. I can understand if I've been training the last 2 months, but
Yeah, but I mean that's smart because there are some fighters that would just chop at the bit to just get back in there, whether they're in shape or not, especially after the quarantine and that and then sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but at least you know where your head is at and you're striving to finally get to that point and get back in there. It's gonna be dope, man. I can't wait for that. But yeah, let's I guess let's get down to these fights, bro. This is probably one of the hardest cards I had to break down in recent memory. So many people coming in and off this card, people missing weights. It's just it's been a mess. People looking bad on the scales. It's all around really kind of a shit show trying to break this one down. But we had to break it down. We had to get some bets, and we're still gonna make money in the process, and that's all that matters. All right, so first up on the prelims, we have a fight between two UFC debuters, between Christian Aguilera and Anthony Ivy. Aguilera is a plus 160 dog, and the comeback on Ivy is a minus 185 favorite. Do you know anything about these two fighters, and do you have a side?
no, I don't know anything about them. I looked on Tapology. There, it's a toss up for me. I'm probably not going to play it. There's no one I'm particularly leaning towards. But I did see. I think I'm looking at it now. Christian Aguilera's last fight was in January on LFA, which is a respectable card. He had a respectable opponent, won a decision, and then before that, it looks like he fought a tough Russian or so, and finished him. So he looks like he's been battle tested. He has a loss against David Michaud, who was in the PFL this year. He's lost to Matt Sals. So he looks like he's had some respectable opponents. Looking at Anthony Ivy, he doesn't look like, if I look at him, he has more of the feeder record where he hasn't been tested on the regional scene. He has a win against an 0-0, another 0-0, another 1-0. Oh, he lost to a 1-0 guy. So like he doesn't have the same strength of opponents. So leaning towards it, just off of strength of opponents, I'll go with Christian Aguilera.
I mean, it makes sense. Aguilera's been battle tested. I mean, granted, he hasn't looked great over his career, even in the LFA. But he's tough. But he's just gonna have a nasty size disadvantage here. Ivy's huge for 170. He's 6'2". He's massive. Aguilera's only 5'9".
Oh fuck!
That's a massive. Like, he looks jacked. I mean, he was about to take a 185 fight last week on short notice. He was going to take on Mearshart on short notice. Yep. So how big that dude is. I don't know. It's a toss up. It's a fight that I really don't want to bet on per se. But if I had to choose, I think Ivy has. I think he has more of a skill set than Aguilera. Aguilera is just super tough, super durable. But I think Ivy is just bigger, more powerful. I think he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu as well, from what I've seen on his social media. I think he just has more ways to win this fight. And maybe by decision might get a good line, might decent line. I'm not entirely sure. At least I'll probably be plus money, but I want nothing to do with minus 185. I don't want to deal with Aguilera either at dog money. I just don't think he's good. He only got the fight because they needed a filler. So, yeah, this is probably a pass altogether. But if I'm choosing, I'm taking Ivy. Next up in the flyweight division, we have Tyson Nam at minus 135 taking on the debuter on 48 hours notice of Zaruk Adashev at plus 125. Do you know anything about these guys, and would you have a side?
I know the debuters, I think, is a New York guy. He's fought on the Ring of Combat, that regional scene. But at 3-1, there's not much you can really take from that, you know.
No.
So I'm going Tyson Nam. I mean, I imagine he's been in camp, and you have a guy
Yeah.
who's just taking an opportunity. Who knows where if his gym's been open or
Well, he
So,
missed weight.
oh,
He
he missed
actually
weight.
missed
I didn't
weight.
know he missed weight.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he missed
well, there
weight
you
by
go.
like 3 pounds too. Or something like
Yeah,
that.
so I mean, as you can see, he's taking on 48 hours. I mean, honestly, the weight cut, the travel, the whatever you have to do to prepare with the COVID and everything. So I think the safe bet is Tyson Nam.
That's what I'm thinking too. I really don't understand why the line is so close. I don't understand why people are betting Zaruk Adashev. I mean, he's a 3-1 professional mixed martial artist. Yes, I understand he has some good accolades as a hand-to-hand combat champion. He's 17-3 glory kickboxing champion, but that doesn't always necessarily transition over to MMA. He's 3-1, 3-1. He's fought cans his entire pro mixed martial arts career. Now he's going against a 30-fight veteran who's fought the likes of Marlon Moraes, Sergio Pettis, Kai Kara France. I mean, like night and day better than Adeshev. He's going from Pettis and Kai Kara France to Adeshev. And you're talking about a guy who's 3-1 that probably should not be in the UFC. If this wasn't a fight that they needed somebody, he would not be in this position to fight in the UFC. So I just think, he's got a 3.5-inch reach advantage. I know people are saying this narrative that Tyson Nam doesn't throw a ton of strikes. Well, in his 2 fights in the UFC, he's been throwing 11.11 strikes per minute. So that's a lot more than people are really giving him credit for. And he just went against a tough opponents in Pettis and Kai Kara France. They're very hard to hit. And what I've seen on Adeshev in his tape, it's just a wild kickboxer that has no technicality in the strikes. He's just looking to push forward and wing a ton of hooks and try to get a knockout. But I just think Tyson Nam's way better than him in the striking realm, and he should be able to just land at will, just a jab cross all day, just right down the pipe. And I think he wins by decision. I think it's plus 150. What's why I got it at? I got plus 155. Tyson Nam by decision. I just think Adeshev is tough enough to not get knocked out. And I think Tyson Nam is definitely going to land the more cleaner and harder shots in this fight. And I think we're getting a great line at minus 135. Don't know how we're getting a line on a fighter that has a full camp at minus 135 against a 4-fight pro MMA fighter on 48 hours notice. That is just ridiculous. And they're completely disrespecting Tyson Nam in this fight. I like Nam a lot. Minus 135. Cash that. Moving on in the women's bantamweight division, we have Julia Avila taking on Gina Mazzani. Avila is a massive minus 575 favorite, and the comeback on Mazzani is a plus 485 dog who is taking this fight on short notice. Who do you got in this one?
Barely know either one of them. So I'm going with Julia Avila because Gina's taking it on short notice.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, Mazzani had no idea that she wasn't even in the UFC. At a certain point in her respective career, she just thought she was still there. But and in her last fight, she won, but she won against essentially someone that looked like she was about 50 years old and coming off the couch. She had fought, I think, 9 years, her opponent back then. It was at 155 pounds. It literally looked like both of them just came off the couch, fought, and then Mazzani won just because she's just younger. But yeah, I think Avila is just night and day better than Mazzani. I don't think we really need to put too much stock into this fight. She's a minus 575 favorite, which is ridiculous. I think she's just a lock to put in all parlays just to add a little bit of value, and that's someone I would probably put in every single parlay as just like an anchor. But yeah, obviously you can't bet it straight. It's literally you just put Avila in your parlays and just let it ride because that's just most of this fight card is literally going to be just whatever because it's a very, very, very lackluster card. But we're here to make money either way. But next up, we have in the bantamweight, catchweight of 140 pounds between Gustavo Lopez and Merab Dvalishvili. Gustavo Lopez took this fight on 24 hours notice because Ray Borg pulled out due to, family reasons close to home. So hopefully everything's all right with him. But we have Gustavo Lopez, who used to fought for Combate Americas.
Yep.
I think he was their bantamweight champion, if I'm not mistaken. Trains at Team Oyama. He is a plus 635 underdog, and Merab Dvalishvili is a massive minus 800 favorites.
Oof,
What do you think happens in this one? Minus 800.
Oof. I mean,
you don't see that. After
hearing that, I don't think it would hurt to throw something on Gustavo. I'm big on Merab. I like him. I like his style. I think he was going to destroy Ray Borg.
Yes.
But with this fight, I don't think you should put minus 800 on anyone. Especially in MMA. You never know what the hell is going to happen in MMA, whether it's a spinning back fist or somebody getting caught in a guillotine that's never been submitted before, or the judges just rendering a complete horrible decision. So, yeah, I'll never bet on a negative 800 no matter who it is. But I don't think it would hurt to throw a little bit of bucks if you got some spare change on Gustavo.
That if we're obviously we're gambling here, and that's the rightful spot in this. $10 wins you 63.50. It's not bad. Granted, chances of that happening are slim, but it's definitely the way to bet this fight. I'm putting Merab in my parlays, but you cannot straight bet Merab in any case. Maybe inside the distance, I think is over. I think about 2-1 inside the distance on Merab. I think Merab in round 1 is about plus 400, plus 450. Those are only ways you can bet on Merab straight. But I'm putting in parlays, and that's it. This is one of those fights where this is like you do not want to take a short notice debut fight against Merab. That's no bueno. That is not a fun fight because he's not gonna stand there and fight with you. He's gonna throw you around like you're a sack of potatoes. It's crazy.
That, and you got to add in the fact that he's been in camp this whole time with Aljo too.
True. Very true. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So I think you add that factor and you saw how good Aljo looked. You got to imagine they've been pushing each other. So, yeah, I don't think, and they're riding that momentum off of Aljo. So, yeah.
That's true. Yeah, from what I was looking during the quarantine, Aljo and Merab were training in Aljo's garage. So, they've been getting in the work together. And Aljo, I'm sorry, but he's the next champion at 135. So having a training partner like that definitely elevates you to another level. And Merab is definitely not one that you really want to fight. I think he should be at least top 5 in the next 2 years. He's that good. 2 fights that he probably should have won. Granted, I bet on Simone, so I was through the roof when he won. But he probably should have won that fight, and he should have won the fight before that as well. Split decision, BS loss, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, definitely Dvalishvili all the way. I'm anchoring him in every single one of my parlays. Obviously, it's not bettable straight. So yeah, that's all we got on that one. Moving on in the women's flyweight division, we have a fight between Maria Agapova at minus 335 and the comeback on Hannah Shockwave Cyphers plus 305. How do you see this one going, man?
I don't know much about Maria, but she has a good record. Russian. No racism intended. I'm gonna lean towards her, man. I like what her record shows, and I just don't think Hannah's that good, honestly, as bad as it sounds.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. This is a mass. I know that Maria Agapova hasn't really fought the best of competition, but I think Teresa Cortez would beat Hannah Cyphers if they fought at 125 pounds because Cortez is a very good wrestler, and I don't think Cyphers is a good enough wrestler to really expose the wrestling deficiency of Akapova. She's massively smaller. She's 8 inches smaller
Oh wow.
than Cyphers. I mean, Cyphers is 8 inches smaller than Akapova. She's got an 8 inch. She's got an 8 inch reach advantage as well. I mean, she's massively huge. And if you watch her fight, you'll be like, damn, she looks like a young JJ out there. Like the striking looks very similar. Like the body structure, very similar. That Thai boxing as well. She after her Contender Series fight, she was training. She was training in I think Russia or around that area, but now she trains now at American Top Team down here. So once after the Contender Series, she lost to Cortez due to her grappling. But man, I watched her next 2 fights in Invicta. That was some impressive shit. Like she beat Alexa Connors on the feet, and then Alexa Connors was essentially running away. She chased after her and snatched up a rear naked choke as she was running away. Bro, it was a thing of beauty. And then what I really liked about Agapova is her takedown defense drastically improved against a much bigger fighter than than Cyphers. I feel like Cyphers needs to get this fight to the ground or just bully her against the cage, because at range, Agapova is gonna absolutely light her up. She throws so many good combinations. Her kicks are disgusting. It's just she looks great. And if she keeps progressing, she could really be a threat at 125, especially now that there's really no one great at 125. If she could just soul up that wrestling deficiency and just get really good on her takedown defense, I think she's someone to really watch out for in this 125-pound division. Yeah, that's true, man. Eli, that Connors rear naked choke was just insane. Like, because she was just beating her so bad on the feet. The moment she got that neck, she's like, "Yeah, I'm done." It was just she didn't even fight it. She just got taken down, and it was all over. It was great, and I wasn't so keen. I would first like Cyphers because of your experience and who she's fought, and it was a good dog money. But after I watched Acapulco, I'm like, damn, like that was good. That was very impressive. But yeah, I'm very big on Alcapova. I'm maxing that minus 335 line. I know people are gonna think I'm crazy. I got it early at minus 285, but I maxed her out because I just think she's that much better than Cyphers. She's much bigger than her. She's fighting at 125. Cyphers is a normal atom weight, 105 pounder. So yeah, I'm all over Agapova in this fight. Moving on, in probably one of the best fights on the card, one of the better fights on the card, much closer than the odds, but I still like one side, is a fight between Charles Rosa and Kevin Aguilar at 155 pounds. Right now, Rosa is a plus 170 dog, and the comeback in Aguilar is a minus 185 favorite. Who you got in this one?
It's tough, man. I think Kevin Aguilar, he was LFA champ. He was laying guys out in LFA. Kind of hit a rough patch in the UFC. I also feel like Charles Rosa, I know he was a Canadian guy. He had some nice knockouts in TKO. I think this is a toss-up fight, which is one of those fights that can be possibly fight of the night, depending how they come. If I have to I'm going to lean towards Kevin Aguilar based off of strength of schedule.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
Championship experience, and I think he needs this. I think he definitely needs this one. And I feel like, the one thing I'm looking at during Corona times and COVID times is where they train at. He's training in Texas where everything's open. Whereas Charles Rosa, he's in Canada. You got to.
No,
I always want to incorporate. He's down here now.
Yeah, he trains. Yeah, he trains with Roger Crawl and
okay.
Charles McCarthy and
Charles Rose. Never mind. I'm thinking of what's his name? Thinking of
Charles Jourdain.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know how that got in my head. So scratch that. Charles Rosa. Didn't he just fight like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago against Bryce Mitchell and got completely out grappled for like a few minutes.
Got wrestled fucked all three rounds. So when we switch it to Charles Rosa, I know he's a heavy jiu-jitsu guy, but as you saw, wrestling, completely negated that. I'm still leaning towards Kevin Aguilar.
Yeah.
With that said, I don't think he'll be able to get it to the ground. Aguilar is going to be throwing those overhands, looking for the knockout, and yeah, I'm leaning towards Kevin Aguilar on this one.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I like Charles Rosa. Rosa looks like in great shape, but Rosa always looks like he's in great shape. Like that man's always ripped. Yeah, he barely has any body fat on his entire body. It's freaking insane. But if we go by just skill for skill, Rosa has good jiu-jitsu, but how is he getting it there? You're talking about a guy in Aguilar who defended 11 of 12 takedowns between Enrique Barzola and Dan Ige. Only Ige was able to land one takedown of 4 attempts. He was able to take down Barboza multiple times. Okay, so you know how well his takedown defense is, 86%. So, and he's fought much better competition. You go from Dan Ige and Turkogov to down to Rosa. No, that's a massive step down in competition. I would take at least 6 or 7 opponents that Kevin Aguilar fought over Rosa as well. It really comes down to just like cardio and see how good of shape these guys are in. Like I said, I know Rosa looks in phenomenal shape, but he breaks down and he hasn't looked the same since his surgery 3 years ago. And it's just hard for me to take him here. I really like Aguilar. He's tough as nails. He's going to push forward, and he's really going to wear. I think he's going to wear Rosa out. His first step is backwards, so you know he's not looking to exchange in the pocket, and it's 25-foot cage, which Kevin Aguilar is very comfortable with since he's fought on LFA for his entire career. I think it's just going to play into his game plan, just moving forward, cutting off the angles, just landing the heavier shots. He's got to throw more volume. He's got to stay busy. He's got to stay in his face. And I got Aguilar here, minus 185. Not a terrible line. It could be worse. But I do like him by decision as well, plus 115. But yeah, I'm all over Aguilar here. He also has a 4-inch reach advantage as well, even though he kind of has a 2-inch height disadvantage. But yeah, that reach advantage is definitely going to come in handy as well. So next up in the bantamweight division, even though these guys fly flyweight, but these guys are fighting at 135. A fight between Mark De La Rosa and Jordan Espinoza. Right now, Espinoza is a minus 167 favorite, and the comeback on De La Rosa is a plus 157 underdog. How do you see this one going?
This is like classic jiu-jitsu versus wrestling, I feel like. Jordan Espinoza, every fight that I bet on him a few times. I think the last one he got triangled and I was pissed.
Arm triangle. He got arm triangled and then regular triangles.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at it from what that showed me is he doesn't have the basic. Like if you get triangled and arm triangled, I can't remember. Do you remember who it was against?
Alex Perez got the arm triangle, but he didn't just get the arm triangle. He got it from half guard. He didn't even. Okay. He legit just used all his strength and he went to sleep. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Perez, as we know, is a legit contender. So at the end of the day, that is a tough fight to call. I don't think Mark De La Rosa is Alex Perez by any means at all. So I think honestly, this is a tough fight, and you can bet either way. Honestly, I don't have one particular way that I think is going to win. I know they both need this win.
Big time.
Yeah, I mean, right now, if I had to, I always, as I said before, I will always, no knock on jiu-jitsu, go with the wrestler over the jiu-jitsu guy. Just because I think he'll be able to take down, even just being on top, making it look like he works. So if I had to, I would lean towards Espinoza, but I'm probably not touching this fight at all.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a very interesting fight. I think it's a lot closer than the odds suggest. I think it should be like a pick 'em, basically. Espinoza has been minus 167 on Espinoza and a plus 157 on De La Rosa. I don't think it's much closer. I wouldn't pick either side. It's just a really hard fight. We really don't know who is going to implement the game plan the best. We know that Espinoza is definitely the far better striker. He's much faster, much crisper on the feet. but De La Rosa is the much better jiu-jitsu fighter on the mat. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. What I liked in De La Rosa, he actually trains now at Team Oyama. I think after he got his shit pushed in by Alex Perez, he's like, fuck, I need to go train with him. So now he's training with Perez, who already beat Espinoza for this fight. So, and he's been training with Perez for his fight, his last fight. So, he's been in shape. He looks pretty decent for 135. I think he put on more muscle. It's just whether he can get this fight to the mat or not. He's looked bad trying to get fights to the mat in recent fights, but maybe training with Timo Yama, maybe training with, Marlon Vera, Ricky Simone, Alex Perez, those kind of guys will help him, be better and get better in in the wrestling department. And I really like how he knew that he needed a change of scenery, and he's getting in that work with some great guys at the lower weight class of 125, 135, and so on and so forth. So yeah, if I'm choosing, I like the dog money on Mark De La Rosa. I'm not betting this fight. It's a coin flip, but I can't take Espinoza almost close to minus 200. That's just ridiculous. I would take De La Rosa here plus 157. But yeah, definitely stay away. Just enjoy this fight because I think it's going to be actually a pretty decent one. Mm-hmm. Next up in the featherweight division, this is arguably one of the best fights on the card between Charles Air Jourdain, arguably one of the best nicknames in the UFC. I think that's pretty dope. And Andre Touchy Feely, kind of creepy nickname, but still great. Right now, Feely is a minus 235 favorite, and the comeback on Jourdain is a plus 195 dog. What do you got in this one?
Okay, so now I know I wasn't tripping. I knew Jourdain was on this card, so I was like, why the hell did I? But I'm leaning towards Feely, man. Feely, he really impressed me in the Sadiq fight. And that's a personal bias. Even arguably possibly winning. Well, not arguably, he won the third round. But I was very surprised that he was able to stay in there, stay composed, eat the power, because I know the power that Sadiq possesses, and still come forward, wrestle, and push that third round, even after having a rough first two rounds. So, I was very impressed with that. Touchy-Feely, nonetheless, has been battle-tested with the best of the best in the featherweight division. I think you go from Max Holloway, you go from all the wars that he's been in to Charles Jourdain. I think this is, hopefully he doesn't take this light, but I do think in skill sets, I just think he gets it done from his striking to also his wrestling. He'll be able to dictate where this fight goes at all times. So I'm heavy on Feely in this fight.
Yeah, I'm 110% with you. I mean, Jourdain looked great against Doo Ho Choi, but I think from what I've heard, Doo Ho Choi actually injured his hand in the first round of that fight, but still pushed forward and pushed Jourdain back the entirety of that fight. But I mean, what have we seen from Jourdain that people are all over him? Because I've seen a ton of people taking Jourdain over Feely. I'm like, but why? He's going from Doo Ho Choi to Andre Feely. That's a massive step up. I think Doo Ho Choi was completely overrated because of his war with Cub Swanson. It's just and then you look at his previous fight. I know it was at 155 on short notice against a really good wrestler in Desmond Green, but it was against a wrestler in Desmond Green that went 4 for 4 in takedowns. Andre Feely is a really good wrestler, very underrated wrestler. He attempts over 4 takedowns per fight. He's attempted at least a takedown in 11 of his 14 fights. So he's going to attempt takedowns. And if he does that, I think he absolutely just dominates this fight. Jourdain is a great up-and-comer, great prospect, but this is a massive step up. And arguably, this would be Feely's worst loss in his entire career. Worse than his loss against Calvin Kattar, because Calvin Kattar is an actual contender right now. But this would be the worst loss in his career because at least Kattar was, I think he had close to 20 fights already at that given time. He's fought on a good regional scene, in the Northeast. Better than TKO. I just think you have much better fighters in the Northeast than you do over in that part of Canada. But yeah, I'm all over Andre Touchy Feely. I think he's just gonna be able to mix it up, push the pace, wrestle, and just big brother Jourdain. I mean, he is gonna big brother him. I know they're about the same size, but I just think he's gonna just push him to the brink where he's just gonna wear him out.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
And next up in the co-main event of the evening, this is going to be a great one because there's so much animosity between these two. Carl Robertson taking on Marvin Vettori. Vettori is a minus 230 favorite, and the comeback on Robertson is a plus 190 dog. Robertson missed weight by 5.5 pounds. He weighed in literally 10 minutes after they started, essentially saying, I don't care, I can't cut any more weight. What do you make of that, and how do you see this fight going?
I mean, it's hard. Carl, I think he said on his contender fight, like, man, I don't want to do 185, and he wanted to stay at 205. Or maybe it's the UFC pushing him to go lower, maybe his staff, his coaching staff, but obviously the guy can't make 185. It's known he has to bulk up. I mean, he might just be in that middle ground because you think the difference between 185 and 205
That's a lot.
It's
a big jump.
It's a massive change. So it's one of those things where he might just be in that middle frame where he's too small for 205 but too big for 185. It gets to a point that he has to figure out what he wants to do, whether it's putting on more muscle or how he wants to adjust his game. But the fight, honestly, I mean, you look at the weight cutting, the last situation where they pulled him out, Marvin in his head. I like Carl. I like Carl as a person. I know Carl as a person. Will I bet? I think I'll bet both ways. I would probably, to be safe, you can't go wrong with a parlay finishing off with either one. But
yeah,
I'm honestly probably not playing this fight. I just want to see a good fight. But yeah, I'm laying off this one for sure.
This is gonna be a great scrap, and this fantastic fight. I just think I saw an interview with Robertson about his last fight, and last time trying to make weight, he had to go to the hospital. Like they thought he was gonna have brain damage and that, and I totally feel for him. But he needs to make the precautions and move up a weight class because he's really doing a detriment to his body and his health. And we really don't, we don't want to see that in a fighter. We don't see him dying in there just to make weight and, make a paycheck. It's really, messed up. But then he comes and starts talking shit about Vettori. I mean, about him getting mad and this, and then you come and miss weight again. Don't take the fight if you can't make the weight. You're talking about making a weight cut and a diet change all within 1 month. He went from an all meat to a carbs diet. He had no carbs in his last diet before, and now he's putting a ton of carbs in his body. I knew he wasn't going to make weight. I mean, all that carbs turns to fat, over time. But I just I feel for him. But, you got to move up and weight and just soul up the biggest hole in his game, which is his defensive wrestling, and which I think Vettori is going to absolutely, definitely take advantage of. You're talking about a guy that let Wellington Turman, who's not even a contender at 185 pounds, take him down at will, and he lost that fight. Whether I don't care if he got the W, he shouldn't have got the W, and he should have lost that fight. And now he's going against Vettori, who's battle tested against much better competition. I know Robinson did well against Glover Teixeira before, gassing out and getting subbed, but Vettori has beaten the better competition. They have a common opponent in Cesar Ferreira, and Robinson lost. Vettori dominated him. Vettori took down the second degree black belt and Ferreira and beat him in his own game. I just think Vettori is way better everywhere. He throws much more volume, which is crazy because Robinson was a kickboxer in glory, and for him to be a kickboxer and only throwing 6 strikes per minute, I think that's extremely low volume. And I think Vettori just got to push the pace, push forward, get him against cage. And I think the smaller cage is definitely going to help Vettori a lot. Keep it in boxing range instead of keep it at kicking range where Robinson really wants this. As long as Vettori doesn't get clipped coming in or with those elbows like Robinson did against Ryan Spann in the Contender Series, I think he has this fight all day with no problems. Yes. But this is gonna be a great fight, and I can't wait for it. Minus 230, I'm all over that. Maybe you can get him by decision, minus 102. Inside the distance, I think is a pretty good line as well. But I'm just taking him money line because I feel like he can win either way. But next up in the people's main event of the evening between Jessica I and Cynthia Calvillo in the flyweight division. Calvillo right now is a minus 125 favorite in the comeback on. Jessica I is a minus 105. Pick 'em fight essentially. How do you see this one going, man?
I have to go Cynthia. I mean, you've seen the weight cut. Jessica I missed weight. She looked dead, couldn't stand. And I think Cynthia's just going to try and out-wrestle her. She's going to push forward. So I'm leaning heavy on Cynthia in this fight.
Yeah, I'm actually – I was up in, 50-50, but after the weight cut and seeing, Calvillo look great, she looked great in her the weight cut. She moved up in weight. Actually, she's lost, she actually – did miss weight 115 pounds as well. So, she's not going to actually be that much of a size difference at 125 pounds. So, stuff like that. So, I just think she's going to go in there and wrestle her and just use her wrestling because, I has a big deficiency in her wrestling defense. And I just think Calvillo's in a much better shape here. Like much better shape. I think her cardio is gonna be on point. She's not killing herself to make 115. It's I think it's gonna be a close one, but I think Cynthia Calvillo definitely pulls this away. Calderwood, my boy said Calderwood called out I on the pinching deal that so supposedly JoJo called out Jessica I for pushing down on the ring because she had to strip down because she was saying that she was, I think, 4 pounds over instead of the 0.67 pounds over that they called. So
Interesting.
I mean, it's definitely possible. I mean, but the thing is, Jessica has been given she gave other people shit for missing weight, and look where she is now.
Oh yeah,
missing weight. She talks a big game. But then she comes in and does this. I don't know. I think Cynthia's going to do her game plan, get in there, wrestle her down, possibly get a decision win, or I have her by submission or decision at plus 103. But yeah, that's what I got there. I think my man kind of lagged out here. Hey man, you there? I think we lost our man Peter for a moment. Hopefully he's good over there and he'll come back shortly. But while we wait for him to come back, yeah. So if you guys have any questions, I know I see 15 people in here watching with us. Give us some questions. Give me some questions to help you guys cash out. Do you have any questions on some bets, over unders? Let us know in the comments. I can help you guys cash some bets while we're here waiting for our man to get back in the stream. Okay, there he is.
Technical difficulties. My computer died.
No, it's all good, bro. Before we head off, do you have any best bets for tonight's fights?
Tonight's card, there's no Bruce Leroy money that I can make, y'all.
Yeah, that was a good one, man.
Let me take a peek at the card really quickly. Man, there's a lot of favorite. I'm huge on what's the touchy-feely?
You asking what the line is? Is that what you're asking? It's right now minus 235. So gives him a 69% chance of winning. About that.
So I would give out. This is my parlay of the day. That I'm personally probably going to play. Well, I am going to play. I think I'm going touchy-feely, Kevin Aguilar, and who else did I want? Oh, your girl, Maria
Agapova. That's a great parlay.
Parlay of the day.
Yeah, that's a fantastic parlay. Absolutely, I think that's plus money at least. I believe. Yeah, I definitely like that parlay. I think that slams. That's great. My best couple of bets. I really like Tyson Dam. I think the experience is going to overcome here against Adeshev. I'm also liking Kevin Aguilar as well, and Touchy Feely. I think those are three great plays, and I just think they're way better than their opponents, and we're gonna knock this out of the park for us. It's a very, very difficult fight card to find value. I don't like a ton of these underdogs to really cash for us, so I'm trying to play it safe, and these favorites are really gonna pull through for us. It might really be a public's night. Most likely, I think majority of these favorites are going to win. Even I maybe think all of them might even win. I was thinking Ivy Aguilar to get the adrenaline going, something small early though. I mean, if you really want to gamble on Ivy Aguilar, go right ahead. It's really a gamble because that's a 50-50 fight. I just think if you're going to take Ivy Aguilar, I think Ivy has more intangibles because of his massive size difference in that fight. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely staying far away from that one. Not big on Ivy or Aguilar. They're both making their UFC debuts. Is it just me, or does I just have not looked? No, he's definitely not UFC ready whatsoever. Jesse, definitely not at all. Took this fight at 488 hours notice and missed weight on top of it. So he's not even in shape to begin with. And then he's fighting a 30-fight veteran against, who's fought the likes of Marlon Moraes, Sergio Pettis, Kai Kara France. Just a really good list of fighters on the regional and pro circuit as well. You like Robinson? I've seen a lot of people on Robinson, but he's got to show me that he can stop takedowns. He's got to show me that he can throw volume against someone that throws volume as well. Show me that he can throw while moving backwards because he doesn't move forwards. He's a counter striker. So if someone's really going to throw more volume than him, more than likely, if he doesn't get the knockout, he's going to lose. Calvillo by sub. It's actually pretty good. Because if she takes her down, Ari does have a deficiency in her sub defense, and Calvillo has looked good. She's training at AKA. So I think she's going to come in a game, wrestling heavily game plan. I don't know. Calvillo inside the distance. I don't know, man. What do you think? Does Calvillo win inside the distance?
I can see it. I can definitely see it. I mean, it's tough to call. I don't really play inside the distance at all because I always look at it. It's very, I don't want to say rare. I look at it as you get two professional athletes, and unless somebody gets caught, I don't ever really like playing. I really like playing over a 1.5, or if you got people who are known to go to decision over that 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you on that. That's how I see it too. You got two grown, women or men, professional cage fighters in there. It's very hard for one of them to choke out or knock out the other because they're doing their jobs. They're fighting for their livelihood. They're not really going to want to go down without a fight. So, yeah, I definitely like more decision plays. That's where you see I like to play more decision props than inside the distance, unless you're Francis Ngannou. Other than that,
True. I mean, with that said, I think we should have a question to leave off. Whose knockout was better, Garbrandt or O'Malley, in your opinion?
Oh, man. If we go by technical striking, I would go with O'Malley all day. All day.
Yeah.
Because Garbrandt has power for days. Mm-hmm. Arguably has the most power at that weight class. I mean, I don't think it's even close. But he literally just winged that. He's like, all right, come on. Yeah, and then he does that. That was crazy. But what do you think? Who do you think was the better knockout?
I agree with the technical. I think O'Malley's technical right hand was nice because you've seen him do it to almost everybody.
And land it
at will. But I will say Garbrandt's was better considering that he knocked out a Sunsao on a walk
Yeah,
off. You know,
that's
against
true. That's
Sunsao,
true.
we still have to be able to see O'Malley do this against top 15 guys. You know, Eddie Wineland. Nobody really expect. I mean, I hope a lot of people didn't bet on him, but nobody really expected him to beat O'Malley. I
Yeah,
mean, what we thought was if he beat O'Malley, then O'Malley was like, just hype. So
yeah,
now it's getting to the point where we'll see how he does against the division tops. Him against. I don't even want to plug him against Garbrandt yet. I think you have to bring him up slower than Garbrandt. But there's a lot of good fights for him. I mean, he's a big 35er, long 35er, technical 35er. And I think people really sleep on his camp. He has a really good team behind him. Even he's learning jiu-jitsu from Augustus Mendez, who's
oh wow,
yeah, one of the best jiu-jitsu guys out there. He's almost on the
yeah.
level of Crime. So I think it's definitely one of those things to see him develop over the years and see where he goes.
It's just there's so many fights to make for him. There's
Oh
like
yeah.
a ton. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you can put him against Cody Stamann. You can put him against Ricky Simone. You could put him against a ton of great people, even Marab. I want to see him tested against a person that's really gonna wrestle him. I
Yeah.
want to see his jujitsu. I want to see his get-ups. I want to see all of that. And I truly do think it's gonna be a great test. It's gonna be a close fight against someone like those. But I think his striking is really gonna give these guys fits.
Oh
His
yeah.
striking is very unorthodox. Is lightning quick. He's got power. I mean, he's progressed a lot, since the Contender Series, and I just don't think a lot of people give him credit for how good he's gotten over the years, even with being popped for USADA for a trace of Austrian, which is a bunch of bullshit in my opinion. But O'Malley doesn't want to fight wrestlers. He said that already. I mean, he's gonna have to fight wrestlers eventually. He's in the top 15. There's wrestlers in the top 15. Whether
Yeah,
he
you can
says he wants to
navigate.
fight,
You can go the Connor route. They're gonna put him on the Connor route. That's the best way. And if they give him a wrestler, it's on short notice. So you can say like to this day, man. I always say Connor ended Chad Mendez's career
he
because
did.
Chad
He
on a
did.
full camp would have won that fight, man.
Absolutely agreed.
On a
I mean,
full
he took
fight,
him down multiple times.
yeah.
Multiple times. He
Chad on
gassed
a
out.
full fight, that was a game. That was game. And then, but he couldn't keep that pace up. And then Connor eventually landed that left hand. I was like, oh, that's
Oof.
all she wrote. That's how they're going to do it, man. They're going to give O'Malley a wrestler on 2 weeks' notice while he's
Until he
been in
has
camp the whole time.
until he has to fight at the top of the top.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think people forget, the business. If he plays his cards right, even the top of the top, they can eliminate each other. Like
That's true.
think of I hate to say, I don't want to say conspiracy, but think of Tony and Khabib, right? How do you get rid of Tony? Oh, let's just plug in Justin Gaethje.
Oh man,
You
that's
know
so
what I
true
mean?
though. That's so
And
true.
and ironically, Ali manages both Khabib and Gaethje. It's like, so now, there's little things where you manipulate the game, you have someone else take them out. I don't know. That's MMA conspiracy. Who knows?
I mean, you're totally right though. I
Mhm.
mean, essentially, it's an entertainment business, and first and foremost, they're wanting to put on the most entertaining fights, and putting O'Malley against a wrestler is not going to be entertaining.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
They
you don't
they
want
don't
to.
want him to lose.
You don't want to mess up your money. O'Malley's probably bringing him a lot of views from outside. I remember one guy I used to work with when I was serving tables and bartending. He was like, "Man, do you know about that pot smoker and fighter?" And I was like, "What pot smoking fighter?" And he's like, "The one with the Jufro." And I was like, "You talking about O'Malley?" And this is a guy who doesn't even watch MMA who knew about him. So it's one of those things where he's bringing in crowds and people want to see him, whether it's with the pot, whether it's the colorful hair. He's doing all the right marketing. So, you
Yeah,
know, and right now, especially where viewers and there's no crowd, they got to get all the viewers they can get.
that's true. And I think he says he wants to fight very, very soon. So, more power to him. That 2-year layoff, I think, helped him a a lot. He's grown so much as a fighter. And I can't wait to see him back in there. I mean, and then you have all these fights coming up, bro. At Fight Island, what do you make of the massive UFC 251 pay-per-view we got coming up? 3 title fights. What do you think about all this?
I mean, it's crazy. I don't know why they stacked it so much, but it's a treat that night. But I believe, you got this card tonight that's headlined by Jessica Iannone. I feel like we could have spread those out a little bit, but I'm not going to complain at all. I will gladly take all of those fights on the same night. I mean, it's going to be glued to the TV that night in general.
Oh, man. What we have Usman versus Burns as the main event. We have co-main event of Alexander Volkanovski taking on Max Holloway for the second time. Then you have Peter Yan taking on Jose Aldo. That's insanity. That's going to be insane. Yeah, man. I mean, do you think Gilbert has a chance of beating his longtime partner? Have you gotten any looks in with him yet while you've been down here? Same with Usman?
Yeah.
Anything?
Usman was in on Wednesday during wrestling. I was working with, I think he's related. I don't know who I was working with. It might be, they're related. Usman told me to go with him. He's a cool dude. Fighter. I don't know his record or anything, but cool. He's been in there. Gilbert, I've seen, he was in there yesterday. The first interaction, I remember I took a little video of this. About to be awkward. Because I was just looking at it. So, right now, I think it's a toss-up. You got but I had to lean towards it. And when those lines come out, I'm going to slide towards Gilbert.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where I like Gilbert's striking. I like Gilbert's jiu-jitsu. He's not bad on the takedown defense. He's going to push forward, but I think it's going to be a crazy fight. Honestly, as bad as it sounds, I don't even think it's going to happen. I hope I'm not right. I just don't know how this goes. Like, the way I look at it is you got 2 guys at the top of the top, right? And MMA math, I just think something happens. And if it does, then I called it. And I'm not but I don't know, man. It just seems too good and too crazy to be true at this point. Right? I don't know I don't know if the MMA gods are gonna step in and stop this fight, but
I hope not.
I mean, I agree.
It's gonna be it's gonna be an amazing fight. Right now, I think Usman's a sizable favorite. But I'm a huge Burns believer. I've been betting him every single fight of his entire UFC career. So I don't think I can bet against him here. Got to rock with him. And he's been an underdog in majority of his fights. So that's even better for us. Money for us.
I'm going to go both sides, honestly. Like, that's one of those, unless Gilbert's like a sizable underdog. I think it's going to be a little bit closer.
It is. I think so, too.
Yeah, that's one of those. I'll probably just pet a parlay with both of those sides, honestly.
I mean, it makes sense. My boy Antonio here is asking you. It's nice to know who has your number in training camp down here.
Who has my number? I mean, I'm out of shape. I'm fat, first and foremost. I mean, but number-wise, I would say I'm very good at defense, and so nobody's like particularly beat me up. I think wrestling wise, there's a bunch of wrestlers who can take me down at will and hold me down. With that said, I think a good training partner that is slept on a lot is Jason Jackson. Jason Jackson is good. And I mean, even talking to him, the guy should probably be a 55er. He walks around I think he said he's like 160 right now. And you think his last fight, he should have beat Ed Ruth, and he lost.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was such bullshit. That was horrible. Mm-hmm. Horrible.
Yeah. So I mean, Jason Jackson's been great to work with. He's one of those guys where I'm like, man, this guy is good. Like, I was amazed. His wrestling's good. He's chaining it together too. So, but I can tell a funny story when it comes to I went with Rumble, Anthony Rumble Johnson. So
You training with
everybody,
him? Oh
right,
god.
hold on. So everybody's sparring, like, right? So I'm still getting the flavor of sparring because at Lloyd's it's kind of kill or be killed. So you know what you're getting into. If you're getting on the mat and they're gonna try and sit you down. From the sparring sessions that we had here, some people like, they're just floating. Some people have headgears, they're going harder than others, but it's not like kill or be killed. So it's kind of hard to see who, like, you don't want to punch somebody too hard if they're not punching you too hard. It's just hard to dictate the pace. So Rumble's like, hey, let's go one. So I had went with one bigger guy, I think Vissel, who's signed to Bellator, and he was just like, we
Yeah.
were playing touch butt, nothing too crazy. Very cool guy. So I'm like, all right, Rumble call, yeah, I'm thinking we about to do the same. First thing, he loads his right hand. I was like, oh, I felt like the Matrix when I seen it go by. And I was like, oh, he's trying to fight. Oh, gosh. So, I used my footwork. And it's funny, in the back of my head, I was just telling this story to, I don't know if you know DJ Jackson. He's a black belt from Lloyd's, but he's out in Thailand. So we were chatting about that. In the back of my head, I hear Henry Hoof say, throw the head kick. I'm like, Henry, you trying to get me killed? And so he throws the little the cross step through head kick, and I lean back, a little Muay Thai lean back, watch it go by. So it was funny. I mean, I lived to tell the story. It's funny. I got in some of my shots as well, but I wanted to pull, like I would hit him, but I wouldn't put like full power because I didn't want to wake him up to the point where there's weight classes for a reason. So I did not want to hit him too hard, and they're like, all right, I'm about to really kill this guy. And you got to think, we were doing 3-minute rounds. So in the back of my head, I'm like, all right, I got a good 2. And if this guy lands one body shot, that then decreases 30 seconds. So then I only have like a minute and 30. So, but it was a good round. Lived to tell this story. Yeah, can't complain, man. It was entertaining.
Bro, that's crazy. That's that's legit crazy.
Yep,
Going in there toe to toe with one of the baddest dudes ever in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to Rumble's page, and you'll see, like, it's probably from last week. There's a picture of us, and Rumble's on the far right side, and I'm on the far left, in my white and green PFL shirt or whatever. But if you just look at the pure size difference, I'm like, God dang. But honestly, it was good. It's been a good time down here. I'm just here. I'm here to get my ass beat and just get in shape and enjoy the time, man.
Definitely, bro. I mean, hopefully within the next couple weeks, I got a care package for you from our sponsor, Manscaped, so I can come out, give it to you and possibly get one of these live on air between both of us. So it'd be dope, And also, if you got some training videos, send them my way so I'll post them up. People get to see how you doing out there, getting in shape and keeping up to date on your training and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, that pretty much concludes this week's episode of the Fighter and the Analyst. Thank you all so much for watching. And I hope you guys cash some bets tonight. We will be back next week, same time as always, anywhere between 1 and 3 p.m. Right before the fight, so we can get on those bets. So with that said, where can everyone find you on social media, and all that good stuff, man?
Why So Serious MMA, both Twitter and Instagram, or Facebook. Request me at Peter Petties.
All right. You guys know where I'm at Fight Analyst on Twitter, The Fight Analyst on Instagram and Facebook. With that said, let's cash some bets. Let's get some money, and we will talk to you guys next week. We are out. Have a great weekend.